hate when I get on here and I have to be negative. And I don't want this to be a negative review because I really did truly enjoy very many aspects of this book. And I would read this author again. I think that the concept of this book was so interesting. This is we have 3 different perspectives in this book, and it's a dual timeline. So one is in the 1920s, and the other 2 perspectives are current, present day. And our 1920s perspective is from Opaline, a woman who runs away from home because she does not want to be married off to a stranger in the 1920s. And so she runs away and, in that process, ends up opening her own bookstore to support herself. There's a lot that goes into that. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil anything for you about this book, because I still think you should read it. Because I think, like I said, this is a great concept from Evie Woods, and so I did enjoy it. And then in the present day, we have Martha and Henry, who are 2 very distinct people. There is a romantic interest between them. I'm not going to get too deep into that either because I don't want to spoil it for you. But Martha has run away from her husband because he's abusive, and Henry is in this area looking for the bookshop that our character in the 1920s owned, Opaline owned, because he believes that a lost Emily Bronte manuscript is located inside of the bookshop. So that's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. And in all of that, there is a very unexplained magic system happening in this book. And that is where this book lost me. I really, really loved the fact that we have very fiercely independent women willing to stick up for themselves and, get away from abuse, whether it be from a brother in Opaline's situation or from a husband with Martha. Henry also comes from an abusive household. His father was very verbally and mentally, emotionally abusive to him, and he also escaped. So we have some very strong characters, and I really, really loved that. And I loved that the author did not shy away from that. The author doesn't shy away from a love of literature. The author does not shy away from a love of books and curation. And I loved that about this. But the magic was just so confusing. Nothing about it seemed to make sense in the sense of this book. And again, I don't want to give anything away because I still want you to read it. I do. Because I want to talk to someone about this. Me and my podcast buddies did read this for our TBR pod, and so we got to discuss it, but because this is not a very popularized book on Book Talk, I've never seen anyone else talk about it, and I'm really just interested in if people agree with us. I want, when it's low fantasy and magic is in our world, I want it to do something. And if it is not assisting in the actual storytelling, then I feel like it doesn't need to be there because it's not making it stronger. It's actually making it less serious. I think we discussed a little bit in our podcast how Babel is a really good example of a book that is low fantasy, but utilizes magic in a way where it really pushes the narrative of a story really, really well because the magic comes with the language. And so that is an extremely valuable part of the magic system in Babel. And so I feel like even though that book could have been written and the impact could have been similar without the magic adds to it. Whereas with this one, I felt as though it didn't, unfortunately. This book either needed to be way longer so that we got a way more fleshed out understanding of what was actually happening with the magic-iness of everything, or it could have just cut it completely and we could have had some very strong lit fic realism when it came to some strong female characters and a strong male character who escape abuse and have a love of literature and a wealth of knowledge when it comes to old antiquities and books. And I just am very sad that that's not what we got from this. And so please read it so that I can talk to you about it. And if you're interested in a longer discussion on this book, please check out our podcast because it will be the most recent one where we have a discussion about this. But I want to talk to you about it. Please, someone please talk to me about this.